Are companies with strong environmental, social, and corporate governance profiles better positioned for future challenges than their peers? This is but one of the questions we'll explore during this episode of Looking Ahead. I'm your host, Al Dominic, and we're about to find out why more and more investors are focusing on issues that traditionally have not been a part of their investment analysis. Joining us on set here at NASDAQ's market site is Alana Basova, a senior analyst at NASDAQ's IR Intelligence. With her is Martin Chapman, head of the NASDAQ Center for Corporate Governance. Each brings a global perspective on our financial markets, which I'm especially keen to explore given that ESG investing has become such big business. How big? Some estimates peg it at over $20 trillion in assets under management, which reflects about a quarter of all professionally managed assets around the world. So Alana, let me kick things off by asking you about the term ESG. It used to be tied to a fringe group of investors, but now it's been adopted by a wide range, including the BlackRocks of the world. So what's changed?
Well, there has been a tremendous increase of the index money in the marketplace, and the passive managers don't have the luxury of discretion, meaning they cannot divest subjectively, and that adds a distinct vulnerability to the asset owners, meaning entities whose money they manage, such as pension funds, endowments, and those asset managers have been, in turn, pressuring their asset owners to go ahead and recalibrate the level of risk within their portfolios. And, investors are basically turning to the ESG framework to do just that. In addition, there has been an evolution of the balance sheet. So intangibles have been growing pretty rapidly, intangibles such as brand value, customer loyalty, intellectual capital, and these intangibles are very hard to quantify. So investors turn to the ESG framework once again to try and find some answers.
Interesting. So Martin, it's apparent that when companies share even more information on their purpose, their strategy, and really their management outlook, it truly benefits investors. Lately, we've seen examples of strong corporate sustainability performance being associated with strong financial results. But from a board's perspective, how much is too much when it comes to disclosure?
Well, fundamentally, a company's institutional investor base would like to know three things. One, that the board is familiar with the company's leading environmental and social risks and opportunities, including with regard to climate risks, and better yet, that the board is conversant on these topics. Two, that there is board-level oversight of these matters, ideally that there is a formal monitoring and reporting structure to provide for effective board oversight and transparency. And three, that the board and senior executives are working together to integrate environmental and social considerations with the company's business model. And they would like to see that the company is taking into account business impacts, both positive and negative, across the business lines and across on all levels. And so this boils down to market interest in disclosure that shows the extent to which a company's business model is sustainable for the long term. So consider disclosing how the board handles oversight and engagement on environmental and social matters. So who is providing this, how are they providing it, discussing that, and how the company itself looks at and addresses the risks and opportunities in this space. These disclosures might be in the 10K, a sustainability report, or even the proxy statement. In essence, they need to connect the company's business and strategy. And with regards to specific topics to be disclosed, well, that needs to be determined based on the particular characteristics and needs of the company and its industry. And metrics can often do vary from company to company and industry to industry.
So when I think about companies that maybe set a strong example for others in terms of doing disclosures, does anybody come to mind?
Well, large European companies have long been associated with best-in-class disclosure. Unilever, Nestle, for example, have consistently set a high bar, including tying sustainability-related disclosure to the company's vision and purpose. In the US market, we've been seeing some exciting disclosures as well. Intel not only released a sustainability report, the company's website now provides for the ability for readers to create a customized sustainability report focused on the specific topics of interest. So, for example, if you're interested in climate and energy and water stewardship, but not in waste management, nor green buildings, nor the Internet of Things, then you can check the boxes for the first two items and click download, and as a reader or institutional investor, you get exactly what you're looking for. And this proxy season in the US also saw Travelers launch its first sustainability website, and it's comprehensive, providing disclosures against SASB, TCFD, IRC, and GRI. So a tremendous amount of work went into this project, and the results are impressive. I'd also like to mention, make a mention of NASDAQ's recent release of the 2019 ESG reporting guide, which is aimed at helping companies navigate the evolving standards on ESG disclosure, regardless of the geography or the market capitalization. So it's actually the second report in a series We issued the first reporting guide in 2017, and that was aimed at supporting NASDAQ's Nordic and Baltic companies in their search for a more meaningful and sustainable connection with investors.
So as I think about what Martin just shared, Alana, it seems like there's a talk of more significant efforts to measure corporate engagement. Are there models of engagement being measured that are being discussed right now?
Sure. So the buy-siders such as Wellington, for example, have been employing what we call a more engaged approach, combining proprietary research with direct engagement versus just relying on the external scores and rankings by the agencies. They used to do that, but that no longer seems to work that well because investors are looking to generate alpha, obviously, and it's really hard to do when everybody has access to the same data. And in addition, we've been seeing the buy-siders being much more willing to actually look at the companies that have been improving their ESG efforts versus just comparing everybody versus the best benchmarks out there. And we think this is a very encouraging message for our clients because a lot of them have been frustrated lately, in putting so much into the ESG efforts and not feeling like they've been getting enough ROI. So this is a chance for them to showcase their improving efforts year over year or over the past 2 to 5 years and tap into the fresh pools of capital that used to not be attainable before.
So Martin, to wrap things up, what steps should management take to really understand its stakeholders' concerns?
Well, as a first step, a company should have reached out to the governance specialists of the institutional investors holding its stock to make an introduction and offer to engage. This should occur outside of the proxy season, so generally July through February. Oh, and I should add, a refusal should be taken as a compliment, by the way, as the company is likely to be considered to have no issues. A company also should review its base of institutional investors and see which frameworks they were actively involved in building or have become signatories to. While a number of investors are supporters of multiple frameworks, it's a good start to see what types of disclosure frameworks might be appealing to this audience. And turning internally, we're seeing management and boards increase attention to human capital management, their data and analytics, looking more into different metrics in this area. And management is also looking to provide for diversity and inclusion and to provide for a work environment where employees and the broader workforce are engaged in part of the conversation around the company's purpose and environmental and social strategies, its policies and practices too. We're also seeing companies engage more with the communities in which they operate and to communicate more around the work they are doing in this area. So the bottom line is that management needs to reach out, to listen, and to engage.
Well, Alana and Martin, I really appreciate you joining me here. Thank you both for looking ahead with us today, and thanks for watching this episode.